All right. Is your boy Tim Lee, CEO of LendAPI? They still let me do this job. Um, okay, so this episode is super special. I'm in Washington, D.C., back again with my friends Carlos. We have the same background. It's because we're in the same studio. I can't turn this thing around, but we'll post some images and all that stuff afterwards. So this is the latest episode of LendAPI Partner Podcast. Carlos runs an awesome publication media company and all of that stuff. I'm gonna let him talk about it. Super exciting. Again, I'm back in Washington D.C. where Carlos is staying. Um, this is a really awesome studio with all these like what is this foam kind of a thing, right?
Yeah, buffers. I don't know what they
Buffers.
call them.
Yeah, it's like a psilocybin room,
Yeah, exactly. It's like the asylum room.
Asylum room, exactly. Awesome. So Carlos, I'm gonna give you. We know each other for a little bit of time. We met a couple of years ago, maybe. I was actually on your podcast about a year and a half ago, a year ago maybe.
Yeah,
So
it's about a year. I was listening to it on the way in, actually.
yeah,
Just trying to remember what we were talking about.
dump the chump. We're gonna have one of those. Tim, you said this a year ago. What happened? But I'm gonna toss the mic back to Carlos for my audience. I want all of you guys to meet him and and understand what he's coming from and all of his awesome background. So Carlos, mic is yours.
Cool.
Yeah, tell us.
Excited to be here, Tim. Thanks for having me on the show. Um, so yeah, no, I don't know where the best place to start. So I run two businesses.
Oh,
All right.
okay.
So I'll just walk you through the both, and then whatever you want to jump into, we can do it.
Sure.
So I run a advisory consulting business for lenders. I help them get distribution in affiliate marketing channels. So that can be Karma, that can be Experian, it can be Bankrate. Really, there's a wide range of them. I tend to work with just the bigger ones. My background comes from Credit Karma. I was at Capital One for many years. So I have this mix of lending, marketing, and then like publishing platforms.
Right.
So it's kind of this unique background. Um, and when I talk to clients, they really appreciate that I can see both sides. I've been on the lending side, I get the regulations, I get the constraints, I get all this stuff. And then from the publishing side, I'm empathetic to their challenges as
Right.
well. And then I'm able to kind of connect dots and
Right.
broker deals, that sort of thing. So that's super fun. That's where I spend probably at least 60-70% of my
Yeah.
time.
And what's
is
the
with
company?
New Market Growth.
New Market Growth.
Yeah, so newmarketgrowth.com if you want to check it out. And then the other kind of third of my time is in media. So I run a newsletter called thefreetoaster.com. And it's a podcast as well. So hopefully we'll get to and we're recording today right after this one.
Another toaster episode. I love it.
Yes, yeah. So that's the show you were on about a year ago.
Perfect.
And the focus of the newsletter is consumer lending, marketing tech. Like if you were to draw the Venn diagrams, it's the intersection where lending, marketing, tech hits. And then over time, we want to start pushing on other things like risk, fraud.
Sure. Yeah.
So still within lending, but opening it up a little bit.
Right.
Because my background is marketing, I just kind of tend to stay in my lane. I write about what I know about, which is that. But over time, I want to pull in columnists, reporters,
Sure.
experts
Yep.
that can focus on the other stuff.
Yeah.
And the reason I built it is as I was in industry, probably for almost 20 years, I never found a publication that hit the stuff I cared about. It was always like just marketing without the lending context,
Sure.
or lending without the marketing bend. So I'm building the publication I wish I had when I was, a
Right.
manager, a director, a
Right.
VP. And we're starting to branch off into building community on top of that publication.
Yeah.
So last Thursday, we were in New York City. We hosted 16 lenders at a bistro in the Village, and we just talked about direct mail for 5
Wow.
hours.
Crazy.
5 hours. We were booked for 3, and then we stayed an extra hour at the bistro.
We're gonna talk about direct mail for 5 minutes on this show.
All right, yeah, we can talk for as long as you want on mail, and then we ended up at an Irish pub down the street for another hour. So 5:30 to 11, we're just cranking on mail.
Direct mail, and
Which
then
was
an hour
crazy.
of postage.
Yeah, but where that business is going to go is like conferences, things like that. And we're going to do, we think, a big event in San Francisco in the summer.
Let me know, my
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah,
That's
so
my
we'll be on
hometown.
the
I'm
West
from
Coast.
San
Yeah.
Francisco.
Oh, you are?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Okay. I'll be there on Friday.
Okay.
see my mom and go to some other stuff. Yeah.
I'll be there end of March. It's my son's spring break,
Yeah.
and we're just cranking
In
it.
the
We're gonna be
March, we're supposed to be at FinTech Meetup in Vegas.
that's right when FinTech Meetup starts is when I land in SF, and I'll just be the whole week there.
Okay. I'm gonna miss you because after that we're gonna go up to Yosemite with the family and all this.
Well, that's a good place to be.
I'm
Yeah, I've
here
been there a
now.
couple times. Yeah.
We got each other now. So
Yeah.
So free toaster, media company, podcast, publication, newsletter, events, hosting dinners for executives. There's new market growth. That's what kind of pays the bills today.
Exactly.
I love it. Yeah, you're absolutely right. A lot of people don't have the Venn diagram experience, right? You're just a VP of marketing. That's all you do every day, or you VP of risk, and there's constantly fighting. I want to increase, response rates or conversion rates, default rates, this and that, right? So that's really good to have somebody in the industry like you to have two sides of the brain, if you will. So why does it called free toaster? I used to live in Texas, and when you open up a new checking account, they'll give you a shotgun. Um, free shotgun for everybody who opens a
Yeah.
checking account.
Shotguns.
Shotgun. That's right. It was in the
I've
local
never
newspaper.
seen that.
Yeah, it's like
That's
200
cool.
bucks in Mossberg or something like that,
That's cool.
a little rifle. But
So free toaster. This dates back I think to the 50s. Something like that. It was when the banks hadn't really figured out like miles and points, all this
Right.
stuff they do now. So they're just like, you know what? Toaster's cool. Not everyone has a toaster. That was probably the equivalent of getting an iPad or something
Right.
like that.
Or that $500 new account opening fee.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing when your friends came over, they're like, "Oh shit, you got a toaster? Wow, where'd you get that?" And then you talk about the bank.
Okay, so that was a way to kind of like acquisition.
It was bank
offer.
acquisition. Yeah, so it's a nod to the early days of like bank marketing, and I cannot take credit for the name. My co-founder Nick Madrid, he proposed it to me early.
Right.
And I have to admit, the first time I heard it, I was like, "The free toaster? What the hell, dude?" And then I warmed up on it, and we just needed a name because when you build,
Yep.
you can't just stall out because you don't have a name.
Right.
But now people like it. People they remember it.
Yeah.
It's for whatever reason it works.
The toast doesn't come up though. I mean, it's good. It's a toaster, but it would be cool to have a toast pop.
You know what? We're working on swag right now, and I want to get all my guests at least a mug with a logo.
Yep.
But then I look at the logo and I'm like, it's like not cool enough. Yeah.
They're like a little squishy.
So you think the bread
toaster.
should be? Oh,
Yeah. Like one of my friends, when I was building these patient financing platforms, they would go to these trade shows for elective surgery, like breast implants and things like that, right? That right? So their swag is a rubbery breast.
No way.
Yes. And he's like, "Oh, damn, here's a little conference swag." I'm like, "Oh my God, I can't have this in my office." It'd be really cool to make a little toaster.
Does it do anything or it's just?
You could squish it.
Okay.
Oh my God, let's keep this PG at least, PG-13 at least on this pod.
Well, it could be like what do you call it? Like those grip strength.
Gripper, yeah, like a stress relief.
Yeah. It's like a gym.
We're gonna, it's gotta.
That's eject here.
Yeah. Just kidding. So competition in consumer lending is at all-time high, right? Every possible acquisition channel, TV, radio. Gosh, I remember we used to do these satellite radio commercials for one of our platforms. You mentioned direct mail, certainly online platforms, and there are a lot of lead gen companies that are sending leads to you, whether they're good or bad, who knows? What's been the most challenging thing for now? Because you're one of your key powers to get people listed, right, on these platforms that people go and shop for, LendingTree of the world. What is the more considered quality? Is it volume? Is it balance of the two? What's going on?
To get people listed?
To get people listed. I know you can do that, but what is their pain point? Is it just getting volume of leads or volume of quality? What's going on there?
Well, let's talk about the listing part of it because I get a lot of people approach me for that.
Put me on page 1.
Get me on Karma. Get me on Experian. Get me on
one.
I say no to 85% of the lenders, which is crazy, right? As an agency owner, I'd love to say yes to everybody. And the reason I can't is sometimes it's the product itself isn't a fit. Like I could just take one quick look at it and I'll just give you an example. Like very high interest loans,
Right.
100%, 200% loans. Some of the big platforms, they're just not interested in the
Yeah.
category.
Yeah.
They look at it and they say, oh, that's just too much reputation risk.
Sure.
Or it's, we have a philosophy that we only lend under 36%.
Right.
They all think about it a little bit differently.
Diluting their brand a little bit, right?
Exactly.
Or their existing customer's brand or something like that.
Or they worry just about the customer impact of that very high interest rate loan. So some will pass just on the basis of the product category. Just to bring it even closer to home, student loans or mortgages, those are very normal product categories, but some platforms just don't have a business there. They either don't, or it's so small a percentage of their revenue that for them to onboard the 9th or the 10th part, it just doesn't move the needle. It doesn't make any difference whatsoever.
High velocities, massive volume, kind of a personal loans, credit card.
That's it. Yeah. So if I had to go to a sweet spot where I'm more likely to get a lender listed, it would be those two. It would be personal loans and cards. Highly competitive. But cards in particular, you can differentiate your card in so many ways now. You can do, the innovation I'm seeing lately is really, really high rewards on a blockchain foundation.
Okay, right.
That's a product category I'm not fully exposed to yet. I don't serve any clients there.
So the rewards could have better outcome. They can buy USDC or some kind of a coin or whatever.
That's it. Because what the issuer's doing is, as consumers transact, they've created a way to do revenue generation that the traditional issuers don't, which is why they can pay the outsized rewards.
Right.
And we could debate all day long, is that stuff sustainable or not?
Right. At least it's fun, something new instead of
it's different.
Magazines or a nice stay at a hotel. Hey, I can trade with my rewards points immediately. Right? That's cool.
So there's a lot of ways to innovate on cards. Loans tends to be a little bit more. I would say, it's more homogenous. It's pretty. You're competing on terms, the loan amount, the rate. People are starting speed. That's it.
Money, so tonight, today, the next hour.
Platforms are starting to recognize that it's not about just APR and loan amount. It's also how much friction is required to get it. Because if you're asking me for 20 documents and it's a long form and it takes me half an hour, that's less exciting than if I can tap my finger on my iPhone and it just finds all the information and it gets it done.
Go through my debit card channel.
And I don't see any brands yet that are like quite that automated.
Sure.
But many are getting really close. But back to your question on the listing, I would say it's not a given just because you want to be in one of these platforms that I can get you in. What I've done with some of my clients is I've come back and I've said, hey, I can get you in if
you tweak a little bit.
Yeah, and I start tweaking. Yeah. What if we changed this about the product? What if we changed our rates? What if we dropped the origination fee and made it up on the APR? Like we start just playing with it. And some lenders hear me, and this might be in the first 2 or 3 conversations. Some lenders hear what would be required to do it, and they walk. They're like, you know what? Not for me. I'm not willing to do that. And what I have to remind some of them is we're talking typically tens of thousands of accounts.
Got it.
Like if you follow my advice and it works for you on the unit economics, we're talking tens of thousands of accounts.
Make or break.
It's make or break, especially for like mid to early stage fintech. For Chase, it's not going to make or break anything. I get that. But if you're a Series C, D fintech and you've been growing, but you want to get up to that next level, you really do have to crack these marketplaces at some point. You can't punt on the channel forever because I'm looking kind of industry wide, and it's probably 20-30% of total card openings come from these platforms.
By my account, there's like 5 or 6 of them, big ones, right? You work with a couple. Yeah. That's not named name, but how do they differentiate themselves? How do they get the eyeballs of consumers so that they can cater to your clients?
It's getting really hard. It's getting really hard. There's a lot. I think brand is a big deal. It's huge. So Experian, we can name them. I mean, it's no secret they're out there building brand, right? Because you see them buying TV ads and talking about Boost and having celebrity sponsors. They're out there. They're out there.
I've seen a couple of those commercials. It didn't come off to me as a platform you can shop for stuff. I think I remember them talking about their score, talking about how to build credit. Maybe that was the wedge, right?
That is, I mean, that is their entry point, is build credit, and then once you're in, they'll say, hey, you qualify for this, you qualify for that, you should upgrade your loan, you should refinance, you should take this card because it's better. And that's not unlike Karma, actually. Karma started with the whole come get your free score, and then once you're inside, they'll upsell. Yeah.
One of my mentors, Walt, got a shout out to Walt. He used to he was the president of Score X, which became Vantage or something like that. And he used to manage freecreditreport.com. Had a jingle to
I
it,
remember that, yeah.
with Experian.
That was huge in like 07, 08. Yeah,
Report.com, so yeah, I guess yeah, the Experian has that kind of a vein. But I guess everybody else is looking for eyeballs, build their brand, build their trust in the consumer space, and hopefully generate. I mean, I want to say probably millions of clicks, right? I mean, on a monthly basis, probably.
the industry overall, you have certain players like Karma, NerdWallet, QuinStreet, LendingTree,
Right.
that are publicly traded.
Wow. Yeah, that's
And every quarter they'll give you a glimpse as to what they're doing revenue-wise. And then I can start to do math on knowing the CPAs in the industry on average. How many implied new accounts are they generating? And just some top of the house numbers, it's between $4.5 and $6 billion per year of revenue to the platforms.
then you could divide that by whatever people pay.
Exactly. I mean, just if you just wanted to do like a simple number, take $100. So was that 6 billion, and then you remove 60 million. 60 million new customers.
That's right.
And you could dial that up or down depending on whether you think that's higher or lower. But that's a pretty decent guess as to how many new accounts these things are generating.
So I used to work for some mortgage outfits, and they'll tell me they'll buy $1 million a month from LendingTree.
A million
Mortgage.
mortgage leads?
And they'll buy from another platform 300,000.
I could see that.
Yeah,
I could see it.
during the refi cash out, hey, my God, the phone's ringing. Look,
That's a lot. That's a lot. Yeah, a million leads. I think that the big issuers I talk to are doing six figures in new. That's not leads though. That's booked accounts. So, we're talking 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, which is
regardless, that is the channel, right? You could do that, or you could figure something else out. But this is ready made. If you're in, you get clicks. You might get conversion. It is a well understood formula, right? People know exactly what they're getting out of it. If your product is good, right? So, and that's what differentiates you. I want to say that because a lot of brokers just say, you know what, here's the price per click, whatever it might be, take it or leave it. Here's a form.
Yeah.
But you actually go in there and help shape their products, shape their strategy a little bit to get a better listing or a better positioning.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
And the thing I see that makes one of the things that makes us really unique is because we have so many lenders in all these platforms, we start to create a mental model for how much potential does a given product have in all of the platforms. And that's usually a missing piece that the lender has, because I can always come in and say, you need to do X, Y, and Z in order to win. But then their next question is like, define win. What is that?
Expectation.
What's the payout? What's the volume?
Right.
And it's not exact science, but once you've seen 20, 30, 40 instances live in market, you can start to triangulate and say, well, I don't know for sure, but it's going to be between 5,000 and 10,000 accounts. And then the CPA, I think, will be between X and Y. And the CPAs always change, so you can't
seasonality.
You can't rely on that forever. But at least they can now make a case.
Right.
And they can go back to the CEO and say, okay, we're going to do these three things. And new market growth has estimated we can go between X and Y. And now they have something tangible to react.
The ROI variables are complete.
Now they can say, yay or nay, is this worth it? But you're going to end up doing the same thing in direct mail, search, social. And then over time, we'd like to create like business units that can help lenders across the whole thing.
They need all that numbers to figure out their budget and their debt facility, right? If the tsunami comes in, you got nothing to show for it, you're choked up, and nobody's happy. right? Because platform needs volume as well, right? To place them.
Exactly.
If there's onesie twosies, that's really expensive real estate on somebody's app or first page or whatever it might be. Wow. So when we get to direct mail in a second, or SEO, SEM, separate content. You and I both create a lot of content. For what I do, I got to create a lot of content. I got to be the voice of the industry. So sometimes I write a lot. I do a lot of these content, but is content still a thing? Giving the LLM, people find answers on Gemini and ChatGPT now. Is that something lenders can still do, or hire some experts to still write or produce content?
Yeah.
What do you see there?
Oh man, that's such a good question.
Yeah.
So I look at I have subscriptions to the platforms that tell you where folks are.
Being found, right?
Yeah. Is it organic? Is it paid? And I can tell you this with very high fidelity. And you don't have to go to the NerdWallet earnings release because they're very forthcoming about it. And I'll just hit you with the numbers. Their card business peaked at $55 million per quarter. This was in 2023. Today, they're at mid-20s. It's down over 50% just on revenues. And they're saying publicly that they're buying traffic in paid channels. So it's hard for me to tell in that card result, are they actually buying some paid traffic, or is that just the organic thing playing itself out? But when I look at just visitation across sites like NerdWallet, Bankrate, The Points Guy, all these big publishers that are well known and are the leaders in their category, it's down 50 to 90%.
Are these tools bypassing these intermediaries?
100%. 100%.
Is that even kosher to say on this podcast, Mike?
I mean, it's pretty well known in the industry.
Gemini, find me the best credit card, and they go direct to whomever that shows up.
That's what it seems like is happening. Because before, Google would have said, "Oh, best credit card, Bankrate, NerdWallet," and you have to pick one aggregator and then you go read, right? But now Google's saying, "Oh, check out these cards," and they might point you to Chase or Capital One or Wells.
Anymore.
That's the other thing.
Right.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because I have some data that I saw from a big publisher. This is overseas, okay? This is Australia, but I don't think the result's going to be all that different in the States. So they're seeing, call it 5% or so of their inbound coming from ChatGPT, Claude, already 5% straight out of the LLM, but it's converting at 3x higher than Google.
The intent is different. The research is different.
It's very different.
You're actually trying to help.
No one's pitching you anything in the LLM.
For now, it's a great equalizer because there's no ads influencing these results just yet. They'll figure it out one day. But that's crazy.
But back to your question. So should I be writing content?
Or should you be coaching?
I think the biggest differentiator for financial brands in the next 5 years is going to be how much of a brand do they have? Because customers will either name you in the LLM, they'll say, hey, like let's take a publisher example. I'm looking for the best rewards card. What's NerdWallet's take? I trust NerdWallet. I know they have great editors.
Or I've seen this. Is Point Guys legit? That's like the query that I see all over the place. Is it same brand legit?
Or I could go, what would NerdWallet tell me is the best rewards card? Right. And in the same LLM chat, what would Points Guy tell me? Because I know those are credible outlets. Maybe I don't trust ChatGPT for card recommendations, and I need a trustworthy outlet. So that's why I think brand's going to play so much stronger. Same thing for card issuers. If you're not getting named in that query, you might say, hey, I need a good rewards card. But if you could find one from Capital One, because I really like their bank, and there's one by my house, and they have great cafes, find me the Cap One card.
Got it. You're right. Maybe going back to your earlier point, maybe the differentiation is maybe less of a brand, but more on the rewards. What are you going to get from me, right? Because that's the angle that I will probably pump into LM. Hey, who has a better lounge access in airport? I'm every other week.
You'll say, I live in DC and I fly to Houston a lot.
Right.
What's the best lounge network?
Which airline points gets me
for those two
airport or airline, whatever it might be.
So it gets really, really specific in there. So yeah, I think it's a time to be building brand for almost every issue. Here's the other thing I find really interesting. When I talk to particularly fintech lenders that are in growth mode, the mix is almost always this: about 40% affiliates, 40% direct mail. That leaves you, that's only 20 left, right? And the rest is split between search, social, influencer, and then maybe some other like email, something like that.
Blog on their
But
website.
but you notice the concentration: direct mail, affiliates. Um, I talked to a VP of acquisitions at a very large brand, one you've heard, household name, and he told me they're leaning in very strongly into influencer and into brand. And what's unusual to me about that is when I say that to some of my clients, they're like, "Yeah, I get it, but I don't have attribution. I worry about the influence, what they're going to say about my I worry about compliance." So when you start unpacking attribution and compliance, lenders get really scared of brand. They get really scared of social and influencer.
Could be one reel, and then you're gonna have to answer for that for a month on end.
But I mean, as I've been building my business, and I'm curious what you're seeing, all my growth is social. I don't do any paid advertising. I don't do any outbound. I write, I post on LinkedIn, and I podcast. That is it.
That works.
It works. No, it's been working for 3 years. I mean, at some point I'll top off and I'll say, okay, maybe I need to go into paid, or sure, I'm expecting that'll
You're gonna be
happen.
wearing shirts with patches on soon. This episode is.
Exactly.
We'll get there soon.
Yeah, no, but I think there's so much untapped potential for most lenders in organic social.
Let's talk about the 80%, right? 40% we kind of dive in a little bit. Affiliate channel. That's really well understood. Big brands are out there. Once you get plugged in, right? You're gonna see traffic. Just get ready. The other side is interesting because direct mail, I feel like requires lots of upfront investment. You got to pay for it. Data, you got to pay for postage, ink, paper, all of that, right? It's a different thing, right? This here is pay as you go kind of a thing, right? Although you have to get people to help you in. Talk about direct mail. Who's into direct mail now, and why does it still work? You know?
A lot of fintechs find that kind of puzzling
Yeah.
because a lot of the leadership at the fintechs, they're actually no, yeah, no, they're actually like generationally like probably younger than you and I, right? I don't know how old you are. I'm 45. A lot of the founders I work with are younger than me, sometimes by a decade or more.
You haven't seen a mailbox in 2 years, probably, right?
Or they just don't believe people even pay attention. That's not what the data says in the industry. It does work. Well, the reason is there's a couple reasons. One is when you're in a platform, a marketplace, someone's comparing you to someone else.
Okay.
So there's always that comparison game. So if you're not the very, very best, someone may choose.
Right. Or somebody else have a slightly better radio budget, right? Oh, I've heard those kind of people. Okay. All right.
In mail, you're there and it's usually your letter and nobody else's letter. So the customer, if they need a loan or a card, it's a yes, no, it's a binary decision versus in the marketplace, you're flooded with dozens of offers.
Right.
So that's one dynamic. The other thing is in a marketplace, even if I got you listed, there's no guarantee Experian or Karma or LendingTree will show your ad.
So they have some kind of algo.
They have algos. Oh, yeah. And the algos run for every individual.
If a lot of people click on this banner a lot, I'm going to surface that for their benefit, right? Yeah.
So it's the same thing as any. It's Google, it's Meta, it's everything. It's the same game. So they're playing the algorithms game. Of course, the benefits their business.
But a piece of trifold in the envelope.
If you're on my list, and my response model says you're going to respond, and my approval model says you're going to clear my underwriting.
USPS have no algorithm. They just put in your mailbox.
They just ship it. Their only algorithm is pay postage. That's it.
Stamp, you're good.
And the differentiator on mail is how good is your outer envelope strategy. That's where if you don't get the open, it can be delivered, but if it ends up in the trash because it looks like spam, you wasted your money. So there's all sorts of things you can do. I heard a cool one the other day. Cool one.
College acceptance letter.
I'm gonna just dial it down one level because I think it's kind of a cool thing. But there's a specific color on an envelope a specific color, that a lot of state utility bills,
Oh, jeez.
when you go late, will flip from white envelope to this specific color. So there was lenders that figured out if I go to that color, I'm disproportionately getting opened because people think it's one of these utility notices.
Borderline, that's, on the ethical level, but open rate, right?
It's fair game, right? Yeah.
To get a debt or
It's fair game. It's a marketing platform. They're not saying they're a utility bill. It's just the color cue is enough
right?
that changes the response rate. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Most lenders I talk to tell me plain white envelope
Okay.
because it's this curiosity. What is this?
Doesn't even have a little window to see what's in there.
No.
Just
It has a little window with your name and address, so you know it's for you,
okay, gotcha.
but you don't know who it's from. There's no like promotion or save five, because once you start seeing the promo,
It could be anything. It could be a check inside.
that's the
Could be a
thing.
big feature that I've been waiting for. Whatever.
I'll tell you this: if I got a plain white envelope with my name, I'm gonna open it. I'm
Takes a
opening it.
second, right?
Yeah, and if then later I find out it's okay, fine, but I will open it.
And if it's like bright orange, you're definitely gonna open.
So most lenders have as their control that plain white envelope. You can you can A/B test. You can
They can
do.
find all this stuff from you, right? I mean, like you can tell them, hey, here's all the things people.
I mean, I can tell the little bit I know. I'm trying to get smarter in this category because it's probably the next
Got it.
vertical
So for new
I'll build.
market growth,
Yeah.
you just focus on affiliates.
Just affiliates for now.
You have to come. Okay, gotcha.
But I have friends, I have partners I can point clients to, so I can say, hey, I'm not the guy for mail, but I have network and I have connections that can get you the right information.
I've heard the data target direct mail is one of the other angles where they somehow get data from the bureau directly. They can sort of run some kind of algorithm and say who's actually in need of credit, and they'll buy those names and addresses and mail to them. So they're not blasting across the radio waves and things like that.
That's what makes the channel so efficient. Yeah. So you'll take your underwriting model and you'll say, okay, of the 200 million credit active users, there's only 20 million that fit my box.
Right.
But then I'll further refine it and say, how many of those 20 million would respond to a mail offer? So there's a response model. So then you're going to further go that next level. And that response model usually takes a few reps. You'll typically mail more than you will at scale.
Just to learn. And then refine it over time.
Yeah, because then you'll say, okay, these guys respond at 0.1%, these guys respond at 0.5%. And then I know
product.
Yeah, it changes. It makes a big difference on the
envelope lettering test. Do some kind of
that can come later. Yeah, at the early days, you're just baselining.
Right, exactly. You don't want to get too cute because you don't know what actually worked. Right. Wow. What a bunch of science behind all that.
And I mean, I think and this is back to your point earlier on, a lot of lenders are scared to launch here. Let me put a finer point on what I think is happening. They view direct mail as this like monstrous operation where I need to figure out printing and mail files and response models and vendors and compliance approvals. And they're like, man, for me if I start today, I'm not going to get in market for 6 months or a year. That's the perception. And I've seen that play out in some cases. But if you have the right vendors and the right team and the right advisors, you can get in market in 6 to 8 weeks.
Some people already had the file. Some people may already have the design, right? The design show. They can do pretty much everything and print, ship. And I think some mail houses even have like a platform you can log into and see where all the mails are getting delivered. Because when the mailman scans the envelope, there's a barcode. And it gets sent up to USPS and it exposes that data. So you know exactly where the mails are hitting the streets. So you can get comfortable. This is not going to a black hole. Yeah, it does take a little bit of time, tenacity, but again, I think the affiliate channel is there. Even if you use it or not, they're doing commercials anyway. There's volume there. So if you want to crank out 1,000 clicks a month or whatever it might be, you can find it there.
One other thing, just to
and there's no
add,
crazy upfront cost.
Yeah, no, zero upfront cost on Marketplace, and zero risk on your CAC getting too high because you're gonna negotiate the cost of acquisition with the Marketplace. So the risk that you bear going into the Marketplace channel is that the counts you get are low quality. that you bear that risk, but you can offset that risk for the most part by um, designing your product and your marketing funnel in such a way that the algorithm on the marketplace ranks you high on the page. A lot of the risk I see over the years when lenders tell me, oh, I got bad accounts from LendingTree or Karma or whatever, and I dig in, they're usually at the bottom. They're at the bottom of the page. And for a consumer to get all the way to the bottom tells you something about the consumer. They probably skipped all these other brands because they've been declined.
They've already screwed up there, defaulted there. So there's some average selection.
That's 100%. That's it. Yeah. So if you're gonna go halfway in a marketing channel, half-ass it, you might just blow it up.
Yeah.
You might lose a bunch of money and time. So either do it well. My advice to Len: do it well.
Yep.
Follow my advice.
Yep.
And really nail it.
Yep.
Or sit out. That's okay. But don't like go in halfway and get listed on the bottom and get bad accounts. Like
different expectations, right? That's why you're super selective. The product's got to be good, and I would say the team behind it's got to be tenacious enough to kind of stick with it, right?
Yeah, that's right. The time and market to figure out any marketing channel, affiliates included, is year. Like you measure it in years. Not just because you need that time to figure out the channel, but you also need the time to make sure the accounts you booked are performing.
That's right. You're right. But once you're on, you dial it in, it's going to be a great.
Then you can coast. Yeah, then you can coast for a while.
Kind of a thing, right? No,
but it's one of the biggest headaches. I mean, when I reflect on like why I chose the profession I'm in, like this one's gnarly because you have all the risks of a marketer, and then you have all the risks of a underwriter.
Yeah.
And you're mashing them all together.
Thankless job, man, on a good day, One final question on this affiliate thing. We can talk about this for a whole day, 2 days, continuously, if we have enough coffee. Do people tend to be on multiple platforms at the same time, or they kind of just figure out one and then move to another one? What's your
Yeah, it's usually spread out.
Yeah.
It's usually spread out.
I'm going to be on LendingTree and Karma, whatever, right?
Yeah, there's a couple of reasons for that. One is you don't want your revenue concentrated too much in any one outlet.
Right, because one algorithm can show you, the other one.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, because the algos could decide you're hero one day and then you're out the next. So you don't want to have too much concentration in any one channel. The other benefit to spreading out is consumers, even if they don't click on you in Experian or LendingTree or Karma, they might remember your brand and then search you out by name and then show up on your website.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
And I just if I had to give you an idea of what I think that spillover effect is, it's probably about 10%. Yeah. So if you book 100 accounts a month directly through these platforms, you'll probably get 10 accounts for free from search, brand.
Right,
yeah.
Because it's brand building.
They'll just remember you.
Right? It's performance marketing, but it's also brand building.
It's also brand. And the same holds true for mail. A lot of people will read your mail, not respond, but then come back through search or through a marketplace. So all these things play together.
Then it's, okay, these guys are really like me. Maybe I'll do something with them.
I think the best lenders internalize that mail is performance marketing and it's a direct and linear channel, but it's also a brand.
Right, exactly. Wow, fascinating. Yeah. We can talk about this for days.
Yeah, and the best model this out. They have attribution where it's fractional. So like I know for every account I get in mail, I'm getting 0.2 more over here and 0.1 over there. And when I'm doing my cost per acquisitions, I'm factoring all that in. The challenge is finance teams, by and large, I'm overgeneralizing, but dude, they like it clean and neat. Don't tell me this account was 0.7 Karma and 0.3 Tree. No. Where did it come from?
Right.
Give me
because my invoice only went to this guy.
That's it. Yeah. So finance.
There's that halo effect oftentimes.
Finance teams like it clean and neat, but reality is not clean and neat as a marketer. So I think the best organizations have both. Yeah. They have fractional attribution mechanisms that explain the world how it truly is. Right. And then they have their clean and neat formulaic approach for finance, right, which maybe is not perfect, right, but it's actionable and it's repeatable and everyone can get their arms around it.
I asked the final question, but I have another one because you just told me something. Do people then run the affiliate campaign and direct mail campaign sort of simultaneously just to catch that halo effect? Sometimes
they do,
right?
Yeah.
Maybe an email campaign because it's kind of costless.
I think the best programs I've seen are really calculated and blended across a lot of things.
When my mail piece lands, that's where I'm gonna pull a little bit more to rank a little
You
bit
could,
higher.
you could. I rarely see that level of sophistication, but it's usually there's the right mix of brand, there's the right mix of performance. Because when the brand marketing's nailing it, all your performance marketing converts better.
Yeah, that's
And then the performance marketing guys think they're heroes because they're running all the math, but they don't realize that because of the brand,
cooking out there. Yeah,
if the brand was off, their conversion rates would drop, and that would change a lot of the dynamics in their channel. And I learned that at Capital One actually, because I was one of the performance marketing guys, and the performance marketers there, I think, got somewhat cocky at times because
Capital One.
it was work and it's an analytic business, right? Yeah. But Capital One's brand is incredible.
Yeah.
And that was run in a separate division, separate team. Those two teams didn't really talk or interact, at least at my level. I was fairly junior at the time.
Did somebody else? Did somebody inside Capital One came up with what's in your wallet, or they?
I believe so.
Wow.
I believe it was all in house. Yeah, I know they worked with agencies on certain channels, but the brand strategy brains were all in house. Yeah, pretty cool.
That's the only thing I remember. What's
Yeah.
in your wallet? You know.
And they pivoted. They pivoted from early days to subprime, very subprime business and brand. And now they have Venture X lounges. Have you been to one of them?
Venture excellent. Is this? We're sitting in. This
is a Venture X office. This has nothing to do with Capital One.
Okay.
Venture X is one of their credit card products. In the National Airport, they have a whole restaurant and lounge. You sit and like wait service staff, they bring you food. It's like the only lounge I've ever been in that
has that kind of a
QR code. You punch, it's all free, and you order as much as you want.
Is that part of Capital One, or is it part of Capital One?
It is part of Capital. Yeah.
So we're sitting in the Capital One.
No, this has nothing to do with Capital One.
Just so I have any do it. Okay, I got you.
The lounge in the airport is all Capital, and then in Dulles they have an even bigger lounge, and that's like a buffet style, but coffee bar, and they're one of the best lounges I've seen. And I'm even comparing to like the Amex Centurion.
I don't have a Capital One card, so if anybody on this in the audience can send me a little coupon or something, you know what I'm saying? So I see their cafes all over the place. Right? There's one in the mall. There's one everywhere.
That's part of their brand strategy.
How do you go there? It's just it's a free coffee.
Yeah, it's 50% off if you're a card holder, and they have like workrooms. Yeah, you can just hang out. I think they view it as if people feel you have a local presence, they're more likely to do business with you.
Right. Same as the JP Morgan Chase branch. I was going to put it out there. Nobody goes in, and these are billboards right next to the thoroughfare.
I haven't seen the JP Morgan cafes.
They don't have one. I'm just saying their branch presence, right?
Oh, got it. Yeah, huge branch.
Chase everywhere with a octagon logo, whatever it might be. Yeah. Okay, so we went way forward. This is supposed to be 25-30 minutes. I have a boatload of questions. I'm going to save it for the next episode because I do a little bit of marketing. The stuff I build has a lot to do with all this stuff. We really got to get you come back here and talk more.
Yeah, I'll say one thing that for any listener that hears any of this and is like, "Wow, this is cool. I want to go deeper." The Free Toaster podcast. I have about 50 episodes. About 12 of them are just affiliate marketing in depth. There's like 14 hours of content, just me monologuing about stuff.
Wow.
So if you really want to go the deep version, I would go there. If you like mail, I shot an episode actually in this room with Rich Walker, very senior guy, former Capital One. He makes a living doing nothing but direct mail these days.
On Free Toaster.
We did about 2 hours and a half in this room. And we ran through the question you asked earlier, which is how do I go from zero to in market? And we just broke it down step by step. So that single episode is one of the most popular.
All the secret sauce are there at freetoaster.com.
Freetoaster.com. That's the newsletter. And then any podcast player, just search the Free Toaster. You'll see the show.
Yes. I listen to a lot of those episodes, man. I've learned a lot from those episodes as well.
They're fun. No, I appreciate it, Tim.
For what it's worth. All right. Well, Carlos, thank you for joining my podcast on LendAPI Partner Podcast. Hopefully we'll do some business together. But it was great lunch that you hosted last week as well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, I'm glad you made it.
Great. I loved it. I met a bunch of people. But this is great. I really want you to come back to our podcast. Share some knowledge.
I'd love to.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.